Liz Lerman and I are institute professors at Arizona State University. Of course, Liz Lerman has won many awards, including a MacArthur Fellowship for her choreographic work, her social entrepreneurship, indeed her genius. She's taken time away from her schedule today to be with all of us, and I wanted to welcome my friend, Liz Lerman.
Thank you. And Daniel and everybody, thank you for letting me into your rooms wherever you are. And I hope everybody's faring well today as much as we possibly can. It's great to be with you, Daniel. Do you want me just to start off a little bit and then you interrupt as you want to ask me things, okay?
Wonderful.
I just want to say that one of the reasons I went to Arizona State was because the school has a commitment to the digital world, and I was interested in whether you could teach creative tools at all online. So my going to ASU had something to do with online education. So I've been spending the last couple of years testing whether you can put things out in the online space and how are my students doing. I actually have one full course that's entirely online, a course of creative tools. It's not only just dancing, it's for anybody in the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, and we actually have a lot of people coming in from the science side too to take it. But the students engage in all kinds of creative work, including the kind, Daniel, you just asked me about. How do you get good at something in particular, like a phrase of music or a phrase of dance or something like that. But I want to start by just saying that an essential element in the Atlas of Creative Tools, which is the name of the course, is this idea about creativity, that at times we want to suspend judgment and be as expansive as we can. Some people think of that as divergent thinking. So it would be like, how many ways could you play that one note? When I caught up with you a little bit ago, Daniel, and you had somebody playing a single note, it might be, how many directions could you stand in? Can you play it walking? How many ways can you do that? And while that's happening, you don't want to be judging yourself. You don't want anybody, it's not about that. It is about expansion. And then there's a point where actually, no, you don't just expand, you contract, you converge. You say, well, wait, I want it to sound a particular way, or I need it to look a particular way, or I need you to stretch for this particular idea. What happens for a lot of us is, unfortunately, we try to do both those things at the same time. We are attempting to be divergent while we're doubting ourselves. We're attempting to try something out while we think maybe we're looking stupid. So in the online world, where, like in my class, my normal rehearsals or normal workshops or things like that with movement, you can put something forward that's not finished, and it doesn't count for very long because you're going to work on it. But in the online world, you might be actually posting it. You might be saying to your student, oh, well, I can't watch you right now. I need you to post that phrase you just made. And they're going to be posting something that isn't good yet. How does that work? How do we get people to be able to actually keep that expansive space and also know that we're going to be working on improving it? And that's where the critical response process comes in, which is it's a 4-step process for giving and receiving feedback that I've been working on for like 25 years. But what I surprisingly found is that it's kind of essential in the online world. Whether you use critical response or not doesn't matter, but to have some protocol by which people are looking at each other's work. Because, and the other reason to all the faculty, teachers here, is that again, in our normal workshops, we look at one person's work, we discuss it, and everybody gets the idea. But in the online world, you may find yourself one-on-one with each of your students, 30 students. You can't do it. It's too hard. So we need to have ways for the students to give other feedback. How are they going to talk to each other? And if they're online, what behaviors have they brought online? Well, we know from social media that a lot of the behavioral activities on social media are rough. People are rough on each other. So I'm advocating today that we want to be able to find protocols and ways of working so that our students feel safe putting out new work or trying things out. And I can teach you well, I can't really teach you critical response in 5 minutes, but we are about to put it out where you can have it in an online way. It should come out this week. And you can study it and use it, but you also could just establish your own protocols. I'm going to just talk about the first 2 steps of critical response because I think they're probably the most useful, and I can do it quickly and they work pretty well online. And that is to say, the first one after somebody shows something is to let people know that their work is meaningful. What struck you about it? What did you find that was interesting or curious or whatever? And you try to hold, some people say it's like that positive sandwich or something. I don't like the term positive. I actually think meaning is better because it lets you talk about all kinds of things besides just it was good. Although your students may just say it's good, something like that. But the second step, and this is one that I think is pretty interesting for all of us in the arts, is that the person who did the making asks the question. So instead of a teacher jumping in saying, I need you to work on this, this, and this, you wouldn't do that if you're using critical response. You'd say to the student, what do you want to work on? What part of this, what would you like to make better? Or what part of this is a challenge for you? And they would state it, and then you help them. So, and if students are talking to each other, the rules even are more so. The student might say to the other person, could you help me fold this paper up? And you could only help me fold the paper. You don't get to say, well, Liz, you're folding the paper fine, but the pen, you're holding the pen wrong. You don't get to do that. You can only help with what the person asks. Those are the first 2 steps. The third step, the teacher gets to step in, but we can get into that. So anyway, that's a very brief accounting of the idea of suspending judgment, engaging judgment, which critical response does. Thinking about how do we want people to be able to put their work forward online? How do we do that? How do we help people with that? And the possibilities of establishing some protocols that may help you, whether it's critical response process or some other set.